god. Oh god. Hello everybody and welcome to the Western eCrit powered by Kiss and Zwift Community Live. My name is Jesper Anker and I'm joined by Wesley Sulzberger of En route Coaching. How are you doing, Wes?
I'm going really well, Jesper. So we just had the Eastern eCrit and we've seen Nadsy on the start line here was also racing there. So he's done the double up here. He actually put it out there on the Wolfpack Facebook forum that he was going to think about doing the double up. So it looks like he's maybe the only one that's come across from the Eastern Series. Obviously, we'll probably have Jeffrey Keel also in there.
I would suspect so, but seeing him race pretty hard in the Eastern race and him not actually being able to make the finale, it looks like he has decided not to race the Western race. Keel is based in the eastern part of Australia, so you would assume it's pretty late in the night. He's got a family, and already having raced one race of the day, looks like he is laying the kids to bed. But Ben Simpson is here, Richard Cook, John O'Bates. We got Ciano, who won last week, and we've got Nazi as well. So, looks like we're missing Cook. I don't see Richard Cook in here. I should do. Cook, Simpson, Bates, Walsh, Ciano. The 5 usual suspects. They're all here tonight.
So Jono Bates is back in there again. A bit of hocus pocus. So good to see him in amongst this racing. Ben Simpson is leading the series and cannot be overtaken. So he has secured his spot. He's out on 308 points now in the series. So really a strong consistency there. Ben has rocked up every week. And he's actually been placing in the last couple of rounds as well and doing quite well. So getting that bit of a confidence back to challenge some of these other racers that have come on late in the scene, like we saw Jeffrey Keel with that, brute power. When it comes down to it, those guys are very, very strong and challenging these other riders to lift their game. So that's been really good to see throughout the series that these other riders have picked up with that as well. So we see Rupert Walsh, who's been one of your favourites as well that you like to give plenty of shout-outs to, Jesper.
Just a sheer dedication to the eCrit series. Always, I know he was away on vacation, or not vacation. He was away traveling again last week, which is why he couldn't really make it. So seeing Rupert in amongst the pack, always trying to make the time available for it. Because looking at the overall standings, if I'm not totally wrong, I think he's within shout of being qualified for the finale. Yes, there are 6 points differentiating between Rupert Walsh and Richard Cook in 3rd and 4th place. So this is a direct matchup for that 3rd and final qualifying spot to that Live E-Racing finale that we're looking at. So these guys are going to be racing their hearts out. It looks like Rupert Walsh is racing for Team Crunker.
I just clicked into that then, and so it looks like he's the only person on that team. So he's made that team himself. I assume he's going to pick up some teammates along the way. So, yeah, I'm not sure that was there last week, was it, Jesper, if I'm not mistaken? I haven't seen that before.
So next to Walsh's name now.
I don't know if it's Kunker or if it's Nunca with the silent K. So we'll call it Nunca for now. So that's Team Nunca.
Silent K?
I have no idea. I'm just making that up on the fly, but we'll have to confirm with Rupert Walsh on that one. So get back to us, Rupert, and tell us how your team is pronounced, whether it's some sort of branding or whether it's just a made-up one like the Wolfpack Taz.
Just a made-up name. I like it. I like it. Looking at the pack, it's going to be a different dynamic tonight with Jeff not on the start line. We've got Nazi, who is still capable of putting down a solid effort in the front, but with a race already in the legs and everyone else in here with fresh legs, I think the pre-race favorite has got to be Ciano. Last week, he took advantage of the chaos and he attacked away and he soloed to the finish line. Look at the other guys in here. They're gonna have their money's worth today in this race.
Yeah, I think so, Jesper, as well. Ciano is very strong sprinter. So with this course as well, suits him down to the ground too. So we may not see without Jeffrey Keel in here taking that challenge on of testing everyone's legs and attacking a lot throughout the racing, unless Nadsy wants to back it up from the eCrit. He did do a couple of attacks there and covered some moves, so he won't have the fresh legs, but he may still definitely not scared of testing his legs again for a few breakaways. But whether or not he can establish a little bit of a breakaway with some other riders, we do see the Bumblebee kit in there. Have we got Ollie Jones backing it up here again as well? No, we don't.
So it's maybe an imposter.
Yeah, because obviously now Ollie Jones is out of that Bumblebee kit and into the Vision kit. So he's signed up to Team Vision, very strong team on Zwift, rivaling up there with the likes of Wolfpack, Taz in forms of power and form of riders. So
Is it really
really
a
good to see.
rivalry if it's one-sided?
Yeah, well, well, the Team Vision do have 3 riders. So Aussie Hump Day in this race have 2 to 3 riders as well.
Hmm.
At least a lot of the teams have at least 3, 2 to 3 riders. Walsh has made his own team, Nunca or Kunka. So these despite all of that, these riders, whether they're not part of a team, they're still racing extremely hard. Like we look at Nadsy here now, seeing at 170 heart rate, close to that 350 watts holding here. These riders that are all in amongst this peloton here are really having to put in. Despite some of these riders, that don't continue on with this, that rock up for one of the eCrits, get a little bit disheartened, they come back, and they start to use this racing in preparation to come back stronger for the next one, because some of these riders may not stay here with the front group to start off with, but the next week, they have something else to aim towards and try and see if they can stick on for a little bit longer. And we saw that with some of the riders, obviously John O'Bates, who was dwindling back towards, the sort of the top 20 to top 15, has lifted right up and, is right up there, in amongst it now, in 6th place, so at 166 points. So obviously it's going to be a tough feat for him to pop up to the likes of Rupert Walsh, who's on 209 in 3rd position. But nonetheless, he's really taken this on and given it his all. So I think the personal improvements of these riders throughout this series has really been inspiring for a lot of people, and especially for the riders. That's something that we've had personal messages back and forth, Jasper, of some of the people giving us big virtual ride-ons for what we're doing here with this commentating. I think it's really taken it to another level for these riders, and they're racing it, like I said, in their garage, in their lounge room, on their balcony even, and getting amongst this Zwift action.
See, without a doubt, I think we'll be back next year for the 2nd edition of the Aussie eCrit. Of course, this is just speculation, but I would really, really love to be back next year and do this all again, because I've grown to wake up every Tuesday and I dream of the attacks of Ollie Jones, Pat Shaw, and I dream of the raw power of Jeff. That's gonna go away over, well, your guys' summer, because I'm no longer gonna have this date with you guys every Tuesday where we share every intimate detail, basically. So I'm gonna miss this, guys. I hope you guys know that as the racing is about to conclude, as we've got 3 more races after this one, 4 if you include the live finale, but that's it. We're
That's it after that
for a while.
So it's all, as you were saying, Jesper, it's all going to come to a head on the 23rd of September at the Rafa Clubhouse in Melbourne. So that's going to be a really good event, even if you're obviously not making this this top selection of the top 3 from the West and top 6 from the East, and then the 1 wildcard as well. Hashtag wildcard Nazi. If you're not making that cut, you can still come along and support the event. I think it'll be a really good night. We've already had at the pop-up store in Melbourne at the Rafa store, Rafa Clubhouse before. We've had one of the Zwift parties in Sydney as well. So the Zwift parties, they know how to throw an event, don't they, Jasper?
Yeah, we do. There'll be free beer. There'll be most likely free pizza. There'll be music. There'll be great entertainment. There'll be good racing. What else do you need? There'll be also a few high profile names of cycling there as well. So we see Ben Simpson out here taking a little bit of a dig as well. Jeffrey Keel isn't in this race now, so he doesn't have that that scared feeling of being put on the ropes here, like Jeffrey likes to wind up the screws. So Ben Simpson, good on him here, taking a little bit of a challenge out, throwing a bit of a shakedown through the legs, just testing people out here. So yeah, respect to Ben Simpson there, getting up around that corner there, sitting back in there now, and I'm sure that some of these other riders will start to sort of, give a little bit of an interest in Ben Simpson creating that first move and see whether they want to start to make a more of a select group throughout this next couple of laps. I'm just hearing gunshots. I'm just 2 seconds. I guess there might be a game going on in my backyard, but wow. So yeah, but like I'm actually really impressed to see Ben Simpson onto the attack here. It shows a different Ben from what we're used to seeing. Ben has actually had the confidence to go onto the attack. You know, as a cyclist yourself, Wes, that confidence is the name of the game.
Yeah, I think obviously now that he knows that he's 100% through, you know, he's not afraid to get out there and have an attack, and so he shouldn't be. You know, he's put in a lot of work, throughout this series and rocking up every week, and putting in a good amount of training as well. Obviously, because I'm doing his training program, so I know what he's been doing with these efforts and everything that he's been putting in. I think that's really starting to come through for him. He had actually floated the idea with me of doubling up and doing the East and West together for a bit of preparation for the finale, and making sure that he gets a good workout. So that's one thing we're just sort of dabbling with and thinking about. And we see Nadsy here winding those screws up like we talked about earlier, really taking on here with that Tron bike with those grandpa socks that you like to call out as well, Jesper. He's rocking those grandpa socks really hardly here. He's pedaling on those pedals at 360 to 380 watts, up to 400 now, 105, 104 cadence, and 167 heart rate. So he's got a bit of room to play with there. Jono Bates sees this as an opportunity now, wants to go across here, but is very highly marked here by the other riders. Rupert Walsh isn't having any of that at all.
Oh, that's a good move by Nadsy. On the topic of doing the double for Ben Simpson, I think he should try and focus on the East. Not that I'm his personal coach or anything. I'm just saying that if you are a Western rider, you're going to be matched up against the Eastern riders, and you might want to get used to racing against Pat Shaw, against, Savatsky, Ockerby, and try to learn their tendencies before the finale. Because there is this advantage, you can race with them now and see what they're like, see what kind of effort you got to put out, which moves you've got to mark, and which moves you've got to let go.
Yeah, I think that's why Ben Simpson is keen to jump in there and do the double up, just to get a bit of experience and know what he's up against for the finale. So I think that'd be, I think that's in his interest to get a bit of a feel for it. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for him, but it's a challenge that he's prepared to take on.
Well, it's a challenge you have to take on, because eventually, like sooner or later, you're going to have to face these guys in a race. Yep.
Yeah, he's going to have to face these guys, and that's where it's going to come down to how the format of the racing pans out, whether it's those top 10 battling out, or how the format comes about. So we'll know that a little bit later from Glenn Knight at KISS. We'll be releasing all the information on what's going to happen with this series coming to a head on the 23rd of September at the Rafa Clubhouse. And we see Siana going on a little bit of a move here now.
You know, I'm actually interested on the 23rd. We'll be doing a lot of setup, but I do hope that I can get to go out on a ride with all the guys coming down. So Wolfpack Task guys are coming in, whereas you're heading over. We have a few days heading up to the event where I know I'll be there in Australia. I would love to go out for a bike ride with all these guys that we've been commentating on, chatting with, and seeing them race. It'd be pretty fun to see all of you guys drop me as we go up Mount Pleasant or, see the local area.
Yeah, I can see the Facebook Lives happening now of some people giving us some commentary and putting us in the hurt for a change and saying, where's in Jesper? I think that they're coming eventually. We'll just wait here at the top.
Oh, they would never that would be drop you. Me, yes.
No, but I'll be there to chaperone you and make sure you're taken care of, mate. I have to look after you, Jesper, and make sure you're okay. I know I had to do that last time because you're in a world of hurt from a bit of a late night that last night after the Zwift party. The party on carried long into the night for Jesper.
How does this keep being brought up at some point? How does this topic always comes up somehow or another?
Yeah. The Zwift parties for Jesper seem to go on longer than most, but he's certainly one to back it up with jumping on the bike the next day. So good to see
and being spat out the back halfway through.
It's all about the front up. At least you jumped on the bike and got out there and pedaled away. We see Siano going up towards the front here now. So Siano, after we gave him that shout out, don't know if he is tuned into the cast, but he's certainly got that confidence there. So he's showing himself around there. Jono Bates is up the front there also. So Nadsy has been doing a few of those shakedown moves And these riders have been responding quite well to those moves as well, and making sure that Nadzi's not getting any bit of a distance there. There would be some riders that would be interested in making a bit of a move, but we see that the riders aren't able to. So we see actually Ben Simpson here having to do a little bit of time trial work, has been dropped off the back. Not sure whether he's had drop out there or something, because he was looking quite well early on there. So I'd be interested to know what happened there. So with Ben Simpson, who's been just tailed off the back of that bunch now, Jesper.
Even further down was Richard Cook. Richard Cook was dropped. I'm not sure if he's still continuing on. I saw his name, and then his name disappeared. So if he actually quit and did not finish, all he has to do, Richard, is finish. Finish every single time to try and get points on John O'Bates, Rupert Walsh. But it looks like he actually pulled the plug.
Yeah, so Richard is on 203 points, up to Rupert Walsh on 209 in his Nunca or Kunka team. So it looks like we've got the head-to-head 12 races each throughout the series. We have Ben Simpson on 18 races he's competed in, so he's competed in all of those races. And we have Mikey H on 15 races. Rupert Walsh has done 12, and I said earlier Richard Cook is also on 12. Looks like the can of Coke has been popped.
Not Red Bull. Oh.
Not Red Bull. So that's good to know that you're not peaking too early, because he does have a race on tonight as well, if I'm not mistaken. Jesper is taking on a criterium, not an e-criterium, actual outside in the flesh criterium, but he is taking some tactics away from this series. We talked about this in the Eastern eCrit, that Jesper has been taking a few of these sneaky tactics and applying it to his own racing.
I mean, the ideal goal is to steal Pat Shaw's artillery of moves, but that requires to have the engine to back it up. So what I've been doing, I've been pulling the Anker beat, sitting in. The very, very final, there's a small uphill. What you do is you just lay down the hammer. Somehow you pop an arrow power up. Yes, we're outside, but you pop that arrow, and then you just sprint it to the finish line.
Is that how it goes, is it?
I got third place doing that last time. I'd love to thank Uckerby for the inspiration, or Ollie Jones, or Keel, or Pat, or the eCrit crew.
Nice work. So just getting a bit of confirmation from Ben Simpson saying he dropped back to actually help tow Cook up. And it turns out he said that Cook has lost power. So that's unfortunate there. So the Aussie Hump Day team that they are part of, so Ben Simpson and Richard Cook are both on the team Aussie Hump Day. So Ben Simpson doing the team role there, dropping back, trying to help pace Cook a little bit, but then Cook having absolute dropout power. So that's unfortunate there. And also, that's rubbed Ben Simpson out of being with that front group. So that's, it's a little bit disappointing for them both there. But carrying on here, we have still Bates up here, Rupert Walsh and Ciano. So they're the main players in this group here. And obviously we've got the wild card, hashtag Nadzi in here as well. So Nadzi, is up here and amongst it. And he probably would be, he did do a little bit of work and a few attacks in the other Eastern E-Series, but I would say he's definitely the favourite of this bunch.
Most definitely. Definitely one of the stronger riders. He not often gets to go for his own chances, but I guess tonight could be different. He has raced the Western eCrit in the past, finished about top 5, which is, I guess for Nazi, we're going to hold him to a higher standard, because I think he likes to be held to a higher standard. So he should really do better, and we'll see how he plays it out tonight. The pack is dwindling down. I think it's going to come down to the pedestrians. This is something that we don't always talk about, but I think this is going to come down to the pedestrians out on the course. So the Italians, the Taiwanese, the Chinese, the Americans out there. They are more than free to race the race. They can't score points towards the overall standing, so they don't steal points, but they still make up the numbers. So let's say Palozzi out of Italy attacks away off the front, and Ciano, he's known to be a bit cheeky. He gets onto the wheel. They can just TT off the front, and the rest of the Aussie guys will never see them again. I think it's going to come down to that today.
Yeah, I think you're probably spot on with that analogy there, Jesper. I think it's definitely going to come down to that. But Nadzi is really going to probably be the obviously, like we said, the favourite here. We're seeing some of these other races here taking some flies here. So if I'm not correct, you were saying about the certain jerseys in there are spin bike in is it Korea, or is it?
This may not be a spin bike. So they're called boom bikes. And the other ones have S by their name. So the boom bikes, they race the Eastern eCrit. The S spin bike class from China raced this one, but it does not look like the class is on for today. But this is a Chinese rider, is Wai Gang, I think you pronounce that, who's off the front with Ciano, and they now have a 5-second gap. So looks like it just happened.
Look like they've got their own little gang going out the front here, and they're going to keep moving along with this here and work together. I reckon that you know, that Ciano obviously is thinking about those points as well. And with you know, with Nadsy back there, he doesn't want to come to it and do a sprint there with Nadsy, because, you know, obviously Nadsy's got some brute power there compared to these riders coming across from you know, he's at that next level, I guess you would say. It's sort of like that Jeffrey Keel. So Ciano is sort of sensed that there and taken it on.
And now the American M. Davis has bridged his cross as well at 5 watts per kilo. And Ciano is going to have to make the move to bridge or stay in behind. 15 Ks of racing down. They're racing 43 kilometers in total. And we'll see Ciano very, very alive today. He won last week's race. And maybe he'll try to live on that rush and take another one today. He now knows how to do it. Competition has taken a notch down with Jeff out. Ciano, it's your time to step up to the plate.
Yeah, he's at that 157 points in 7th place. So, you know, he's still a fair bit to pick up to get up to Rupert Walsh on 209. But Ciano is still, you know, these races, even though, like I said, these riders in this race still want to do the very best they can. And like I said, they've been improving throughout the series and really targeting, you know, finishing on a high. So, even if they're not going to nudge into that top 3, a win is still a win, and definitely, you know, it's not easy to get a win in these eCrit series. Whether it's the West or the East, these are challenging races, and, you know, these races. You know, look here, we're doing 180 beats per minute here, Ciano, you know, and at that 80 cadence range. So you want to be trying to pick up, if he's listening now, Ciano, try and pick up your cadence there a little bit. Make sure you stay inside that 80 range. That will help you for the long run to make sure you have that kick at the finish.
What if he's got stronger legs and a weaker heart? Isn't that better then?
Yeah, it's he's dropping back to that 170. He's keeping around that 180 mark here now. So, I mean, sorry, not that 180 mark and 174. So he's dropped down onto that 180 heart rate now. So if he can maintain that, as long as he doesn't go further down with his cadence at the moment, like, you know, he's close to that 80 range. He's inside that right now with that 300 watts at that 85. But if he starts going down lower into that 70 mark, right down towards the low 70s, then, you know, that's going to take a lot out of his legs and probably take a bit of a pointy end off him for the finish.
That's a good point, Coach Wes out on course. 17 Ks of racing down. We've got 4 Australians in the main group. Nadsy, Ciano, Bates, and Walsh. 3 of them are up in the standings in the Western eCrit. We're missing Cook and we're missing Simpson here as they're racing the Western eCrit powered by KISS and Zwift Community Live. It'll be interesting to see how this pans out. So far, the pace has been a bit over the place. Nadsy sitting in at 3 watts per kilo. This is where you can utilize the draft out on course. When there are no attacks off the front, you can sit comfortably at the back and just make sure the watts stay low, because often out on course, you see people putting out 4 watts per kilo to stick with the pack, when all you really need to do is put out 3.2, 3.1.
Yeah, that's true with that as well. You know, these riders here that are sitting in, you know, if you can sit in, you're going to save, you know, save a little bit on those watts and make sure that you are. But it all depends what your goal is out of this. You know, if you're wanting just to place high, or whether you're wanting to actually, you know, take on a challenge or take a punt. Where if you're saving those legs now, what are your chances? What are you thinking? How are you going to roll the dice? Are you going to go on the attack inside that last kilometre like we saw Pat Shaw do? Are you going to wait to the very final last part to do the shake and bake and launch up the outside, timing your power up? You know, it all comes down to what your strengths are as well. You know, Anthony Vegan Porsche, which we've seen in the Eastern Series, you know, isn't the rider that can battle it out for the final sprint. So he did try and take on a few attacks and follow some moves. So that's something that some of these other riders could do. And, you know, obviously, if I was any of those riders that aren't a pure sprinter, I'd be following Nadsy in this one, because Nadsy is quite strong. Most likely, probably to do a launch, because he does like attack. You know, I'd follow someone like Nadsy to try and get that gap and follow him, and then probably if you have the legs, to go over the top.
It's really all over the place right now. Nobody really knows what to do. The Western eCrit is one of those races where you never really know what's going to happen going into the race. anybody can have an off day, whereas the Eastern eCrit, there's always guaranteed the few at the front. They're always going to make up the numbers. They're always going to place well. In the Western eCrit, it has just been night and day between every single race. One day it's Bates that's dominating. The next day it's Siano. The third day it's Jeff. Then you got Ben Simpson coming back. Then you got Cook. And that's what makes the Western eCrit pretty interesting to follow from a spectator's point of view, because we honestly never know what's going to happen.
No, you do not know what's going to happen. There's a lot of scenarios that you can come to head and have a think about what would maybe happen. But then with the Western eCrit, there is a good dynamics to it, and it always is different. So it is a little bit, with the Western eCrit, you can sort of sometimes predict what's going to happen. But with the Western, we've got a real sort of a Wild West out there, as you would say, Jesper.
It definitely is. But that what gives that sounds cute. The Western eCrit does have a charm to it. It's shaping up. 4 races left in total, 3 after this, I assume. So next one is Richmond, and then the 2 next ones have not been verified just yet. They will be brought out along. I guess when the new course schedule comes out, the finale will be announced as well, because whatever course is on the 23rd, that'll be the course they're racing on.
Yeah, you are right there, Jesper. I'm just getting a message across from the Facebook comments on this stream saying, turn your mic up a little bit, Jesper. You're a little bit quiet.
Really?
From Mark Kubach has just said, turn your mic up.
I can tell you right now it's boosted at 150. So
I think it's just that you've got the competition of my Rode mic over your mic, so maybe that's it. We're having a mic off here, and maybe mine's a.
Are we having a mic off right now?
Do we really want to do this?
What I can do is I can turn down the audio volume to Wes a tiny bit. I mean, ideally I would like to just mute him, but out of common decency, that's not an option. Hope that's better. Let us know in the comment section below. Wes will be reading. He is good at moderating the chat.
Yeah, so we've just got it actually from Sounds Good. We've got a Sounds Good from Gary. Gary. Oh, no. I'm not going to.
Oh, you got to give it a go. Name. You've got to try it.
We'll say, hold on. Gary Hardgroger.
Nah,
Gary Hardgroger said it sounds good.
You made a noise with your mouth, and it sounded somewhat like a name, so I assume it's right.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to get through a few more of the comments there, and someone said hello from New Orleans as well.
Hello.
So hello from New Orleans, guys. That was actually Gary who passed on that. Good morning, sorry, from New Orleans. So good to see that we've got a little bit of a multicultural, people tuning into this stream, not just from the western side of Australia. Obviously, it's a little bit late in the east. It's getting close to 9:30 at night. So yeah, my kids are well and truly in bed, and I'm in the office still. So, but what an office to be in! It's good to be covering this Western eCrit. And like we said, we never know what you're going to get. We're seeing a little bit of a group forming here now, and Siano up around the front here again. He's really got that confidence. He's up around the front here throughout this race tonight, really making sure that he's known and seen as the rider to beat.
But it's taking his toll on him. I mean, his heart rate right now is at 197, so he knows where to be at the right moments, but he's burning matches trying to get away, and now he's got to react to Rupert Walsh and John O'Bates as they have a gap off the front.
Yeah, so these other riders now are probably taking note of this stream now if they're tuned in as well, knowing that the heart rate is up at 196 beats. I don't know if that's correct, because that is really, really high. I don't know where
it's jumping down now.
So you were down at the 165, so I don't think that's correct. In the past, when you've clicked over Siano, I don't remember the heart rate being that high. So I think that may be a bit of a malfunction with the heart rate monitor there, a bit of a problem with that. But we see Siano, sitting comfortably in there, in that bunch, and reacting to those moves there with that move coming back with John O'Bates now.
So I know West doesn't follow the World Test ban, yeah? But if anyone else is out there is following the World Test ban, I've got good news for you, because Nicolas Schultz of Casio Royale is actually in the breakaway from Australia. So getting some Aussie exposure in the World Test ban, one of the biggest Grand Tours there is, happening right now, probably over on SBS. And did you know there is an SBS podcast for the World Test Banya, powered by Zwift? It's pretty good, guys. It's pretty good. We did one for the tour, and we're following up with the Vuelta a España. If it's something, I mean, when there's no eCrit, when there's no Vuelta a España, and you have to go back to your, your actual life, your responsibilities, I don't know, boo-hoo, there's a good podcast to get you through those things. The SBS, powered by Zwift. Have you listened to that before, Wes?
That's it. I have, yeah. There's some really good, good insights and get a good, good knowledge of things from the cycling perspective. Obviously, it's something that we have here with interested Zwifters wanting to jump on, and they can ride on Zwift while listening to a podcast. So there is a number of podcasts out there now, and it's quite a good time to listen to it when you're doing a workout, or jumping on Zwift to actually jump on and listen to the podcast at the same time. Take a little bit of your mind away from the pain or the efforts that you're inflicting on yourself. Or if you like to, you could just cruise around and ride at a leisurely pace and listen to the podcast, whatever floats your boat. And that's the thing about Zwift. You do not have to enter the events. If you're a little bit daunted by some of these events like the eCrit, you can jump on and do a group ride as well. So it's not just all about the hardcore racing. Obviously, we see this here tonight. This is the pointy end of the racing, but you can do normal group rides in here, to roll along at a more leisurely pace. There's Aussie Hump Day, which is on a Wednesday night. So usually at the moment, I've been doing the Aussie Hump Day the last 3 weeks in a row. So since I've been employed by Zwift now, I've actually jumped on and have the time. I've been employed by Zwift.
You've been employed by Zwift? What?
Yes. So I'm employed by Zwift now. So I'm the area manager for Australia and New Zealand. So now that I have that spare time and can focus more on what we're talking about here, Jesper, getting involved in part of the community and riding on Zwift. So Aussie Hump Day was one of my first things to tick off, to jump into that group ride, and 400 people to 380 people on those rides. It's a really good race at the end if you want to do the after party. So the group ride is 2 laps around whatever course you're on. Usually it's the Watopia course, and go up through the new Volcano circuit. And then the last lap, if you choose to, you can do the after party. So the race is, it is a race, that last lap, but the rest of the ride is a nice group ride together, and everyone rides along together. And there are giveaways as well. Yep. If you're close to the what do you call it, Jesper? The beacon. That's it. If you're close to the beacon, within the 3 time periods that has taken a snapshot of a photo of the Zwifters, if you're closest to the beacon, then is sent out some Zwift water bottles. And there are other various prizes that change throughout that as well. So good thing to be part of as well on Zwift, the Aussie Hump Day ride on a Wednesday night. So it's on tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
10 a.m. British time, if you are tempted to do that, guys. But Wes, now that you've officially spilled the beans and you've come on board with the best company in the world, you know what we need to do, because you currently have a verified badge on Zwift, meaning that you are a person of stature, past pro. We need to change that into a Zwift verified badge, which is even more rare. There are less people with a verified Zwift employee badge than there are verified badge on Zwift.
Oh, okay. So they're like hen's teeth. So that's something I wasn't aware of there that I was eligible for. So I have noticed those badges before, and realized that obviously they're employee badges. So will I be donned with one of those badges? We'll have to tune in tomorrow night to see whether that's updated, Jesper.
At the Aussie Hump Day ride. Yeah, that'd be so cool. That'd be a good way to break it to all the Aussie Hump Day guys that are currently sleeping, getting ready for their after-hour lap or after party. So it's good. No, I'm really happy to have you on board, Wes. It's funny that this all started a few months ago with Wes coming on, spilling, just talking absolute nonsense in a live stream, and he continues to talk absolute nonsense. But hey, he turned it into a job. So everybody, round of applause in the comment section below for Wesley Sulzberger.
Thanks very much. And we did just see a thanks from Gary for giving him that shout out from New Orleans. So Gary Hardgroger, thanks very much for the comments. If you have anything you'd like us to share on the stream, or any comments about your favorite races, let us know in the live stream comments of some questions you have about some of the races, or some information you'd like to know more about the racing. And if you're not up to date with what's happening here, these avatars moving on this screen are powered by human beings on the smart trainers or the dumb trainers with a power meter. So there's a couple of different versions you can do it. So their bikes are hooked up to a trainer, like your exercise sort of bike. And through that power that's created, those watts, which we call it, which are on the left-hand side of the screen here, we see 450, 500 watts being put out by NADSI now. So those watts is that power they're producing with the pedal stroke. So with that pedal stroke and that power is fed through to the avatar, they put in their height and weight and the resistance on the different gradients throughout the course, and really makes it a real life effect. So these races are certainly very hard. You know, we see these races here now, 168 heart rate for NADSI now. So that was quite an effort up through that there. So throughout this, these races, these riders are eligible for points throughout the series. And the top 3 from this Western series will go across with the Eastern series guys, which is top 6. So 9 riders in total will be chosen on Zwift's dime, as Jesper likes to say, will be flown down to the...
Not on my dime. Wow.
On Zwift's dime, they'll be flown down and eligible to race the finale with one wild card who I guess you'd say you have to be putting it out there racing the double up tonight. Hashtag wildcard NADSI. Oh. NADSI would probably be the most prominent rider that, you know, obviously in the Aussie circle that races, you know, is well known throughout the racing. You know, Nathan Guerra, who covers a lot of racing, was well aware of NADSI, and NADSI as he used to call him, before a lot of other people, you know, knew about the racing scene here in Australia. NADSI was on the beta phase of Zwift before it was official. So he's a long-time supporter and a supporter of the community, being a firefighter. So hats off to NADSI and a big wildcard #NADSI.
You know, you're hyping this up, that it would almost be the biggest snop if NADSI didn't get the wild card. Biggest snop since Australia got kicked out of the World Championships of Soccer. Do you remember that when that happened, when you got a penalty last minute?
Do I remember when that happened?
Yeah.
You know, what are you trying to do? Poke the bear there.
No, I'm just saying that it will almost be as much of a snub if NADSI didn't get the wild card, the way you're hyping him up compared to the World Championships when you guys went out because of the referee. So
yeah, I mean, you know, it's not that I'm trying to pinpoint that or anything, but #wild NADSI is definitely eligible to be in this series. He's going across regardless of racing or not. NADSI has made a full commitment and has already booked flights to go across to the final, which is on the 23rd of September at the Rafa Clubhouse in Melbourne. So if you aren't racing, still go along. NADSI's going along whether he's racing or not, supporting the event, supporting Zwift and getting amongst this community. And that's what Zwift is really building here, a really strong community. Everyone wants to be part of this. You know, you can be a firefighter, you can be, you know, a truck driver, you can be Anthony Began Porsche is a tiler, I'm pretty sure, by trade. So he's a tiler. You know, you can come from all walks like that. We've got doctors here. We've got Dr. Tacker, who's very prominent in the Zwift scene as well. So Dr. Tacker, I'm pretty sure he's an actual doctor. Yeah. So Dr. Tacker is a doctor. So it's not just like we had the Triple J host called used to call himself the Doctor. He actually is a doctor, I'm pretty sure. Dr. Dre, yep. So a lot of fake doctors out there, but I'm pretty sure Dr. Tacker is a real deal. But we are seeing, I think if I'm not correct, Rupert Walsh is involved in the medical scene in some extent as well.
I'm pretty sure. So is Jeffrey Keel. He's also a doctor. Dr. Keel.
Yep. So Dr. Keel keeping it real. So we do have a lot of different, different people from different walks of life. I'm sure we have, you know, the mailmen in here as well. We have everyone in here. Like, it doesn't matter what your background is or what your job is, you can be a Zwifter, and that is all part of the community. And you know, everyone wants to chat after the race and get amongst it here, which makes it really a really cool part of thing to be involved in. That's why I think we see riders coming back week after week. Obviously, it helps having this stream as well. You know, us giving a shout out, and people, you know, realizing that, you know, this is a big deal. The eCrit is a big deal. So it's really cool to see these riders come back, you know, and race these races week after week and support this cool racing that KISS has provided this platform so that we can cover, Jesper. So hats off also to Glenn Knight for covering this with the KISS racing scene. So it all makes it all possible so we can cover this racing. So we see Nadsy going back to the front here now. So after that shout out, he's had a bit of a shakedown of the legs, thinking about probably doing a little sneaky attack just to test the legs, I'm thinking here, Jasper.
13 Ks remaining. It's been a pretty calm field so far. Everyone's sitting in 2.93 watts per kilo. You mentioned that it's pretty fun that everyone wants to talk to us afterwards. It's just a shame that we're a closed door. Wes and I, we refuse everybody on Facebook. We don't talk to anybody. We're just two old grumpy bastards commentating on cycling. Oh, honestly, if you guys want to chat to us, we love, I personally love when you guys come to us after the race and be like, that was amazing, because that's exactly how Wes and I feel. I mean, we can sit for 30 minutes to an hour after the race is finished, talking over the race that happened.
When the stream goes off, it doesn't stop. We could just keep pressing play there for a while. We keep going back through the different scenarios and what about this, and yeah, we really get into it, and obviously that comes across in the stream. But even when we're offline, it's the same amount of atmosphere as when we press the stop button on the record. So yeah, we really enjoy covering this series, that's for sure.
I think deep down, Wes and I regret that we're not actually racing the series, because it'd be so fun to
get a little
duke it out.
And my new setup here is I'm actually standing, so I'm not sitting. So I actually get a little bit of a pedal going every now and then with my foot when it comes down towards the kick. I lean on my little bench here in front of me and start to do a bit of a drag with the heel, and can really feel the lactate that these guys are starting to produce. Probably not to the extent that they're feeling, but I still am trying to do a bit of a pedal stroke with the commentating.
You know, that's the next video. You know how we always want the community to engage with us? Now we're going to turn the table on this one, Wes. When you're done for tonight, you're going to take your phone out and you're going to film your setup and be like, hey guys, this is actually behind the scenes of a Zwift live broadcast of an eCrit. My name is Wes, this is what we do, tune in next week. And you post it on Zwift Awesome Kiss Road Race.
That's it, and we're just getting comments now across from Mark Kubach, who said, cool spending my lunch break with you guys. So obviously from America, I would say then. So tuning in to this eCrit broadcast. What do you got there, Jesper?
It was a grenade protein bar that I've not opened yet.
Sponsored, not sponsored. So yeah, shout out to Mark. Thanks for getting involved in the comments. Glad you're having lunch with us. And he's just said DK. Yeah, what are you having for lunch, Mark? Let us know while we're in amongst this. These riders are really starting to wind up here now. Actually, we see Nadsy having to put a bit of power down there, up out of the saddle as well. We're getting a go Ciano. So looks like Ciano, his wife Maria Ciano said, go Ciano, go, with a couple of little bike avatars there as well. So we've got some support there. Would love to see Maria, if you are obviously the wife, I think, of Ciano, then if you could get us a nice sneaky video or a snapshot photo of the sprint finale, that would be really awesome to put that on the Zwift Oz page and build that community and show the power that these riders have to put out for the sprint. I've shouted that out a couple of times, Jesper, but the logistics of it obviously isn't easy. You know, it has to be a little bit of a planning ahead. And I've shouted out each week, but I really hope that someone can actually produce that next week to put a sprint of the eCrit series, whether it's the West or the East, put one of the sprints up, a live video or photo of the finale sprint of you giving it your all. Also put a shout out.
Finale, you're gonna sneak up behind somebody, go, peekaboo, here's the camera, now you're sprinting, have fun.
Oh, we've just got the update. No, I am his mother, with a thumbs up. So it's his mum giving him a ride on here. So I'm surprised my mum isn't on the stream as well commenting, because she is fully aware of me doing these streams now. So mum, give plenty of likes and comments on my Facebook Wesley Sulzberger page. But we see, see that you don't also have to be. You don't also have to be racing this to get involved in this series. Obviously, there's family out there and friends that are interested in seeing what their son or their daughter is up to virtually online. Obviously, with the internet now and being so connected, These races, people can watch their family and friends race. So I know there's a lot of the Wolfpack crew that are probably watching this stream now to see where Nadzie is placing and what he's doing. So that's really cool that, you've got that range of support and that community, the people that actually want to see what's going to go down for the finale in this series.
Can I just point out that Wes said nowadays with the internet around? I was born and raised with internet. How old are you?
Yeah, well, we had the old dial-up, and yeah, I am from Tasmania, so we've just got on board with fast internet. I did send you a cheeky snapshot of my internet connection that I have here, and I'm lucky enough to have an enterprise, which are hooking me up with 420 download and about, I think it was 250 uploads. So it's pretty quick here.
More than you'll ever need in your life.
It's about the same amount of watches Nadzie's putting out. That 400 watts is my upload at the moment. So Nadzie's holding my upload speed at the moment. So good to see Nadzie out there with the Tron bike, rocking those green wheels. And we will see Nadzie really start to wind up these screws here and challenge these. We're coming up. And that was the bell then, Jesper, if I'm correct?
No, there's two more laps. Two more laps. 43 Ks in total, 10 more Ks. Next time around.
Yes.
This time around, Wes, I fully expect you to have a bell ready.
I'm going to have a bell ready, and I think Wendy Superfan, shout out to Wendy Superfan, will have a bell, a cowbell for the finale in Melbourne, if I'm not correct. She said she's coming across, so I've given her that shout out. We're getting some more comments through that now. We have Mark giving it a laughing one there, saying that after the mother comment, and we have... some power of these guys is amazing. What would the World Tour riders be averaging in a crit like this?
That's a good question, Wes.
In the Santos Tour Down Under People's Choice race.
Yes, Wes.
So,
please enlighten us as a former World Tour rider.
Yeah, so you'd be up high with that 5 watts per kilo. Obviously, depending on what your role is in the team, like he's asking about the People's Choice race. So that's a race that in part of Tour Down Under that's on before the main event. It's a chance to hand out the jerseys. So it is still quite a hard race. A lot of the teams still, especially the sprinters teams, take that on as a challenge. A lot of the Uni SA riders, which is the pretty much the national team for the Australian riders, which I've been part of before, go out on the attack, and riders like that are going out on the attack and really laying the smack down would be averaging over that 5 watts per kilo. So they'd be putting in a decent amount of effort. So like what we saw with Oliver Jones last week at 5.5 watts per kilo. That's what you have to be up around that point too if you're working in the breakaway and to try and stay away. And obviously the other riders back in the pack, if they're getting more sheltered and not using too much of the legs, you'd actually be surprised at how much lesser watts that they can get away with. They can get through maybe averaging 3.5 to 4 watts a kilo for the whole race. And it may be a really, really fast race, but if you're getting sucked along in the slipstream here, I don't know whether Nadzie's had some dropout now. Speaking of slipstreams. Yeah, I don't know whether he's playing with him there. He has had some trouble with dropout. So I've actually hooked Nadzie up with a dongle because he was wondering whether it was his dongle. So I gave him a new dongle just to try and stamp out anything that may be going wrong for him on the tech front of things. So it'd be interesting to have a bit of a chat with Nadzie afterwards and make sure that that new dongle is working for him. He said, he's actually commenting on the stream. So I'm about to attack off the back, says #wildcard for Nadzie. So we just got a little bit of we got a thumbs up from that question from Ben Mather was saying, what about that comment with what sort of power they're putting out. So good to answer these questions, keep them flowing through. It's good to get some feedback from the people that are watching as well. If we can enlighten you on anything, we'll try to cover it. If we don't know it, we may tend to make it up, but most of the time we'll definitely try to answer those questions.
Never make it up. Never. Get me on 1 point.
I mean Jesper would, but I'm more on the home front of making sure we give the right information. No, Jesper is across the board, making sure that we do answer these questions correctly. And if we don't know, then we usually give the old line. We'll come back to you on that and follow that up next week. So that's one thing we want to make sure that if you do have some questions and we can't answer them, we'll definitely try and make sure that we find out for the next week. So, and that's good to keep you coming back so we can answer those questions for you next week as well. So good to tune in.
If you can't wait for next week, you can always approach us on Facebook, Jesper, Anker, and Wes. Feel more than free to come. Exactly. Yep. Feel free to contact us and get in contact with us, and we will answer your questions if we find the answer in between races, if it's time sensitive. But as we see Ciano putting down the pace in the front, I think he'll still come back together, even though he's going fast for this one. On the topic of power data, I've never been part of a World Tour race before, but I've analyzed power data from Strava. Mikhail Kwiatkowski this year won Milano-San Remo. Oh, sorry, he won Strade Bianche is what he won. Well, he also won Milano-San Remo, I think. But Strade Bianche, he won. When he was sitting in the peloton, he was averaging 125 absolute watts. That's like 2 watts per kilo for him. But the pace was still at 50 kilometers an hour, 47 kilometers an hour. When he then attacked, then he would average 8.8, 9 watts per kilo for the finale. But imagine sitting in a World Tour race and averaging 2 watts per kilo. I think everyone can do that. But the reason why he can do that is because he just, well, you as well, Wes, I assume. You guys just know how to draft, how to sit on that wheel.
Yeah, how to draft and when to move up as well. You know, obviously, if you're moving up in the wrong period, whether it's a headwind or, you know, if there's any little bit of a lull in the race and you can use a bit of a downhill to your advantage, or follow another wheel as well. You know, a lot of the time we're seeing this even in this virtual racing. You see the riders in the pack going like this. It's called the washing machine. So it keeps going around like this. The riders come back. And then you want to get on those wheels that are moving up. Even in the virtual racing here, we do see the stream effect. So if you're on the wheel, you're getting that little bit of a less resistance through the trainer. So you want to move up following riders as well. So that washing machine approach, we are getting a couple of the comments through the stream just now. Jesper touching on those. Come on, Jono Bates. So someone else who's out there is a fan of Hocus Pocus and said, come on, Jono Bates. We're also seeing a couple of comments saying about he wants to Zwift on my Be-Cool Pro, but it won't pair. Tried everything. So maybe I'd definitely get in touch, Paul Griffin, with on the Zwift Oz page to troubleshoot. Also, Shane Miller has some very good videos on his GP Llama YouTube YouTube account. So if you want to jump on there, if there's anything with the tech side of things, he's quite knowledgeable. And is quite approachable as well. So, yeah, chuck on your troubleshoots on the Zwift Oz page. I'm sure the community will help you out there. We are watching Jono Bates now at 170 heart rate and 100 cadence. So he's nice flowing cadence there at that 200 watts. So he's still got a fair few beats to play with at 170 heart rate. And Ciano is up the front there also. And Nadzi's a little bit further back there, just sort of playing a little bit of a casting his eye over what's going to happen here, whether he's doing a bit of a layback and ready to do a bit of a... Yeah, well, he said he was attacking off the back. I think that was a bit of a joke. I don't know whether Nadzi was... I don't know what happened there, whether he had dropped out. He didn't actually say, but he said he was doing an attack off the back. Paul Griffin said, thanks, Jesper. It was actually me who answered that, but that's okay. Give Jesper a thanks for that. Anyway, but it's good to get these questions rolling through. Thanks, Paul, for that. And we'll hopefully, obviously, if you're not from Australia, I said the Zwift Oz page, then maybe try one of the other Zwift local pages to you. I'm sure if you get on Facebook and start typing in Zwift wherever you're from, there usually is a page that will pop up. You know, we've got in Tasmania, we've got the Wolfpack Tas Facebook page, which does say Tasmania at the end of it, so you are fully aware of where these pages are coming from. So it's pretty cool that there are a lot of these other, these communities popping up on Facebook, and we're coming up to that bell now.
We already passed it, Wes.
We passed it.
2 times in a day, Wes. Man, Wes, I'm disappointed, man. I think we might have to get Bernie in here.
We may have that in the future. I have dropped the hint that Bernie would like to come along and do a bit of a questionnaire and talk through with me. So I think that's something that we've talked with the production crew and like to see happen. So we will try and get Bernie along to one of these streams, probably when I come back from Eurobike.
You know, I would more than be happy to drop out, and then Bernie could take my spot for an eCrit, and then we're gonna have the Sulzberger's eCrit broadcast. I would love to see that.
No, I think we'd have to have Jesper Anker, the the anchor of the stream to make sure that we hold everything together, especially from the production point of view. Jesper does do a lot behind the scenes that I haven't come to grips with or been shown how to do yet. So Jesper does have a very good understanding how the cast goes. So I think we'd need you in there. We have a comment from Mick Palmer saying he had another dropout at the start of the last lap.
No way.
He had to, yes. So he's had a bit of a dropout. So he's had to finish it. So the last 2 to 3 weeks, he said he's had finishing it to come back. So unfortunate for him. So I feel for Mick dropping with those dropouts. We've got another comment from Paul Griffin just saying, sorry, I wish I was in Australia. So obviously from the US, I'm guessing, with the time zones. And yeah, he said, Mick Palmer said, yeah, that he's East Coast Fritz. He's on the East Coast Fritz.
So Mick Palmer, if you're chatting right now, are you M. Pauly out in the race? Because we've been looking for you, Mike. We've been looking for you, and I cannot seem to find you in the group riders nearby. So if you are you going under the name M. Pauly out on course? We're not really doing these guys any justice, by the way, because they only have about 2.5 Ks left of racing out on course. Walsh, Bates, Ciano, and Nazi, they've been racing their heart out. But we're talking about Kwiatkowski. We're talking about People's Choice Classic, which I think Caleb Ewan has won 3 years in a row now. But hey, these riders out here, Ciano's going to try to win another one.
We're getting shout-outs from Dunn now saying the 11th rider should be the former Australian Crit Pro champion. So that's my brother there. So shout-out for hashtag. That's coming from Dunn, who is a teammate also with Nadsy, calling for Bernie to be out for a wild card. But we see these riders taking this on now. This is coming up towards the pointy end. Ciano up the front here now, Jesper. And you've called Ciano out a few times, obviously, as the favourite.
Yes, he has definitely been the one. He is sacrificing a bit of matches just to have the right positioning and never missing the move if it happens. And it's the right choice. It's the right move to do when there are so few Australian riders in this race. Being in the right position can sometimes just be enough to be able to get the maximum amount of points out here. But they're going to turn left in just a second, and they're going to see Trafalgar Square. Once they crest the top of it, they've got about 1 kilometer and 700 meters to go, and we'll see how they play this out. John O'Bates, Anthony Ciano, Nazi, and Rupert Walsh are the 4 Aussie riders that are within a shot of winning. I think this is the 18th or 17th edition of the eCrit, or the round of the eCrit so far. Nonetheless, it's still as prestigious.
I think it's the 19th, Jesper.
19th
edition.
Wow, we're far into the race, man. Time flies by when you're having fun, and I hope time flies by for these guys, because they're starting to get into another world of hurt now as they're going over the top.
Yes, definitely up over the top here. We see the power being smack down here. We've got a couple of British riders up here in amongst this scene, is also pushing the pace for these Aussie riders. So we see John O'Bates up there and amongst it, and it's really going to come down to this sprint. I think, obviously being stretched out here, Jasper, we usually see this form back up over the top.
We usually do, but today could be different. Nazi's off the back. Rupert Walsh, 2 seconds off the back. We saw this last week. If you are Rupert Walsh right now, you sprint. You give it everything, because this pack is going to break. In the front group, you've got Bates and you've got Ciano. If you're Rupert Walsh, you cannot sit in. Fisher will not bring you back. If you do not get back on the wheel on the front, they're gone. You will not see them again, but it looks like Rupert Walsh, putting up to 5 watts per kilo, is aware of this, and we do have Grupo Compacto, except for Nazi, who is at the back. But 3 riders left: Rupert Walsh, Anthony Ciano, and John O'Bates. Who takes this one, Wes?
Rupert Walsh is going to have a real feat with this. I'm thinking John O'Bates as the outsider here. John O'Bates, has a good finish on him. Has actually won one of the eCrits on the volcano circuits before. So I would really like to see John O'Bates come away with a victory tonight. I mean, the old Hocus Pocus, he is one of my favourites, and I have found Jono, early on in the series and followed him right through. So I'd love to see him get up there.
We'll see how he goes. It does say "Ride On" at the back of his jersey now, and ride on is what he's going to have to do now. 1K to go, 900 meters left of racing now as John O'Bates receives the ride on. He is shattering Anthony Ciano at the front. Ciano has a good sprint on him, but again, it comes down to the power-ups. Jono, Anthony, and Rupert. Which one has the arrow? Which one does... Oh, my voice is cracking up. Please carry on, Wes.
I think that Jono's going to have the aero ready to roll because Jono is experienced now in this racing. So hopefully Jono's got that aero power up. We see one being popped early here now, and that's a long range sprint now. That's going to force everyone to go early here. We see the power up starting to be popped here. And that is a huge power up pop by Rupert Walsh out in front. Looks like they're going to come over the top of him now. So looks like Ciano is probably going to come over the top here now. So really taking this on with that. I think Ciano's popped a featherweight there. So not even the aero power up. It's going to be a real grovel to the line here. We see some other flyers here now over the top. But Ciano, I think, has gone out for the win. And I couldn't quite make out the other minor placings there. Bates in second, I think.
And Rupert Walsh third. And then we've got Nazi fourth, and we got Ben Simpson fifth. And if Cook is still here in the race, he will be sixth. So Ciano, back-to-back races now won, and he's in dire need of that because on the overall standings right now, he's seventh. He will now gain 20 points, which puts him at 177, still 22 behind Jeff. He'll take time on Richard Cook, but Anthony Ciano, if he can keep this up with 3 races left, 60 points left off the up for grabs, I would not put it past him. He's looking good, Wes.
Yeah, I think that obviously. Oh, what are the courses coming up as well? I haven't looked ahead with that, Jesper.
We only know it's Richmond. We don't know what the last 2 are.
Yep. Yeah, so that's going to also play into account there as well. So, but Ciano, obviously, we saw him early on tonight, really showing his face around the front of the peloton, actually doing some attacks as well. So the confidence is there, and that showed tonight. Also backing up with the legs, taking out the win. So, like you said, Jesper, 60 points on offer. It still is accessible for him to jump up in there.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week for the eCrit series. Head over to Zwift Oz, and we do hope that Wes does a little bit of behind the scenes showing how all this magic comes together, because, spoiler alert, he's not actually in London right now.
No, sorry. I'm actually in Tasmania, in Launceston, with the backdrop of London. So I'm an imposter at the moment. But one last thing to finish, Jasper. Mick Polymer said that he is M-Poly, so that they will clear that up there.
Makes
so
it
is Poly on
makes
the
sense
eCrit.
now.
Yep. So thanks very much for everyone for tuning in. Thanks for those questions flying through on that. We'll try and keep on top of those and get through some of your questions throughout the stream. But again, thanks, Jesper, and thanks for all the crew tuning in, and we'll see you next week for another eCrit on the Western and Eastern, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time and 9 p.m. for the West. So thanks again. Bye.